The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday night, turning the streets into rivers of gray. Tamara Jenkins pressed her back against the cold brick wall of the luxury apartment building, her nurse's scrubs soaked through, her body trembling. She had walked 12 blocks from the hospital because she couldn't afford the bus fare. Not anymore. Not when every single dollar had to go toward Bria's medical bills. Her hands shook as she pulled out the crumpled envelope from her pocket. The red letters seemed to glow even in the darkness. Final notice. $5,000 due in 3 days or they would stop her daughter's treatment. $5,000 she didn't have. Would never have. Tamara's vision blurred. She wasn't sure if it was rain or tears anymore. 6-year-old Bria was lying in that hospital bed right now, her little heart struggling with every beat, asking when mommy would come back. Asking if the doctors could make her better. Asking if they could go to the park again like they used to before she got sick. Please, Tamara whispered into the storm, her voice breaking. Please God, I need a miracle. I need help. I can't lose my baby. Please. Her legs gave out. She slid down the wall, landing hard on the wet concrete. The envelope fell from her fingers, the ink already running in the puddles. She didn't pick it up. What was the point? 3 days. 3 days and they would disconnect Bria's monitors, stop her medication, send her home to die. Tamara's chest heaved with sobs she had been holding back for months. All the double shifts. All the skipped meals. All the prayers. None of it was enough. She was a nurse who couldn't save her own daughter. She was a mother who was going to fail the only person who mattered. The world spun. Her head felt too heavy. When had she last eaten? Yesterday morning? The day before? She couldn't remember anymore. Everything was just a blur of hospital rooms and bills and Bria's thin little hand in hers, trusting her to make everything okay. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. Mommy tried. I tried so hard. Darkness crept in at the edges of her vision. She thought she heard footsteps, but she couldn't lift her head to look. Her body had simply given up. The rain kept falling. The night grew colder. And Tamara Jenkins, who had fought so hard for so long, finally let the darkness take her. When a mother collapses in desperation outside a stranger's home, will her prayers be answered or ignored? What would you do if you found someone at their breaking point? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to see if miracles really happen. The door to the penthouse opened. A man stepped out, umbrella in hand, heading to his car for a late meeting. Julian Prescott nearly missed her in the shadows. Nearly stepped right past. But something made him look twice at the figure huddled against the wall. His heart stopped. Oh my God. Julian dropped his umbrella and rushed to her side. The woman wasn't moving. Her lips had a bluish tint. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck, feeling for a pulse. It was there but weak and fast. Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me? He shook her shoulder gently. No response. Julian didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms and carried her toward his building. She weighed almost nothing, like she hadn't eaten in days. His doorman rushed forward, eyes wide. Mr. Prescott, should I call an ambulance? No time. Open the door to my place. Now. They got her inside, out of the rain. Julian laid her on his leather couch, grabbed blankets from the hall closet, and wrapped them around her shivering body. Her nurse's scrubs were plastered to her skin. There was a name tag, Tamara Jenkins, RN. He turned up the heat and made chamomile tea, something his mother used to make when he was sick. The memory stung as it always did, but he pushed it aside. This woman needed help right now. 20 minutes passed before her eyelids fluttered. Julian sat in the chair across from her, watching, waiting. When her eyes finally opened, they were the most striking shade of brown he had ever seen. Confused and frightened. Where? Her voice came out as barely a whisper. You're safe. You collapsed outside. I'm Julian Prescott. This is my home. Tamara tried to sit up, panic flooding her features. Bria. I need to, the hospital. Slow down. Take a breath. Who's Bria? My daughter. She's at Children's Memorial. I need to get back to her. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I fell asleep. She'll think I left her. Julian pulled out his phone. What room is she in? 412, but I can't afford. I don't have money for a car. I'll take you myself. But first, you need to drink this tea and tell me what's going on. Tamara stared at him like he was speaking another language. Kindness from strangers wasn't something she knew anymore. But she was too tired to argue. Too desperate. She took the tea with shaking hands and drank. Bria has a heart condition, she said finally, her voice hollow. She needs surgery. The bills are... I can't pay them. They're going to stop her treatment in 3 days. She laughed, but it was a broken sound. I was praying for a miracle when I passed out. Stupid, right? Julian's jaw tightened. How much do you need? 5,000 for the immediate bill. But the surgery is 80,000. And the recovery care after that. She shook her head. I'm a nurse. I work doubles when I can. But it's not enough. It'll never be enough. She set down the teacup, ready to leave, to face the rain again and walk back to her daughter empty-handed. Julian stood. I'll pay it. Tamara froze. What? The bills? All of them. The surgery, the recovery, everything. I'll handle it tonight. She stared at him, waiting for the catch. The cruel joke. The conditions that would come with strings attached. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Julian thought about the question. He thought about his empty penthouse, his successful company that brought him no joy, the years of loneliness he filled with work and more work. He thought about his own mother, who had died when he couldn't afford her cancer treatment. He had been 18. Poor. Helpless. Because someone should have helped my mother when I couldn't, he said quietly. Because you prayed for a miracle and I happened to open my door. Because it's the right thing to do. Tamara's breath caught. Fresh tears came, but these were different. These carried something she hadn't felt in so long she almost didn't recognize it. Hope. I can't just take your money. You're not taking it. I'm giving it. And you're going to accept it because your daughter needs you strong, not collapsed on sidewalks in the rain. His voice was firm but gentle. Let me help. Please. She wanted to argue. Wanted to say she could handle it herself. But she looked into his eyes and saw nothing but sincerity. And she thought of Bria waiting in that hospital bed. Of the surgery that could save her life. Tamara nodded slowly. Okay. Thank you. I don't know how I'll ever repay you, but I'll find a way. We'll figure it out together. Now let's get you to your daughter. Julian grabbed his keys and they headed to his car. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets toward Children's Memorial, Tamara felt something shift inside her chest. Maybe miracles were real after all. Maybe prayers didn't go unanswered. Maybe, just maybe, everything was about to change. The hospital hallways smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. Julian walked beside Tamara as she hurried toward the pediatric wing, her wet scrubs squeaking with each step. She didn't seem to notice. Her entire focus was on getting to room 412. When they pushed through the door, a little girl with braids tied up in purple ribbons looked up from her bed. Her face was thin, her eyes too large for her small face, but when she saw her mother, she lit up like the sun. Mommy? Tamara rushed to the bed and pulled Bria into her arms, careful of the 4 lines and monitors. Hi baby. I'm here. I'm so sorry I was late. I wasn't scared, Bria said, but her tight grip on Tamara's arm told a different story. Then her curious eyes found Julian standing near the door. Who's that? Julian stepped forward and gave a small wave. I'm Julian. I'm a friend of your mom's. Bria studied him with the serious expression only children can manage. Are you a doctor? No, I work with computers. That's cool. Computers are smart. She tilted her head. Did you make mommy smile? She doesn't smile much anymore. The observation hit both adults like a punch. Tamara blinked back tears. Julian cleared his throat. I'm going to try, he said honestly. A nurse came in to check Bria's vitals. Julian excused himself and went to find the billing department. 20 minutes later he returned with the hospital administrator, a woman named Patricia Cole who looked both shocked and relieved. Ms. Jenkins, Patricia said, her voice warm. Mr. Prescott has made arrangements to cover all outstanding balances and future treatment costs for Bria. The surgery has been scheduled for next Wednesday with Dr. Samuel Torres, the best pediatric cardiac surgeon on the West Coast. Tamara's hands flew to her mouth. All of it. Every cent, Julian confirmed. And Dr. Torres has cleared his schedule to personally handle Bria's case. Patricia handed Tamara a folder. These are the surgical consent forms and treatment plans. You just focus on being with your daughter. The financial stress is over. After Patricia left, Tamara turned to Julian with glistening eyes. I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Because you need it. Because that little girl deserves a chance. He gestured to Bria, who was now playing with a stuffed bear on her bed. I meant what I said earlier. Let me help. I'll pay you back. Every dollar. I promise. Julian shook his head. This isn't a loan. It's a gift. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's one human being helping another. He pulled up a chair and sat down. Listen, I have more money than I know what to do with. My company went public 3 years ago and I made more in one day than most people see in a lifetime. The money just sits there while I work 70-hour weeks in an empty office. He glanced at Bria, who was watching them both with interest. That little girl needs her mother healthy and present. You can't be there for her if you're working yourself to death and collapsing on streets. So yes, I'm offering help. And I need you to accept it with gratitude, not guilt. Tamara searched his face for any sign of hidden motives. She found none. Just honest kindness from someone who actually seemed to care. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. I accept. With all the gratitude in my heart. Good. Julian smiled, and Tamara noticed how it transformed his face. He was handsome in a quiet way, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that held old sadness. Now, where are you two living? Tamara hesitated. We have an apartment. It's small, but it's ours. How far from the hospital? An hour by bus. That's too far. Especially once Bria has the surgery. She'll need you close for recovery visits. Julian pulled out his phone and made a few quick notes. I have a guest house behind my property. 3 bedrooms, fully furnished, and it's sitting empty. You and Bria should move in. Julian, I can't. Yes, you can. His voice was gentle but firm. I'm offering. You're accepting. Remember? Bria piped up from the bed. Mommy, can we? I'm tired of the old apartment. It smells like Mrs. Henderson's cats. Despite everything, Tamara laughed. It felt strange laughing again. It does smell like cats, doesn't it? So it's settled, Julian said. After Bria's surgery and she's stable enough to leave the hospital, you'll both move into the guest house. No rent. No strings. Just a safe place to heal. Tamara felt the last of her resistance crumble. This man was offering her everything she had prayed for. Everything Bria needed. Who was she to refuse when her daughter's life hung in the balance? Okay, she said softly. We'll move in. And Julian? Thank you. You're giving us a second chance at life. We're giving each other something, he replied, though he wasn't quite sure what he meant by that yet. They spent the next hour in Bria's room. Julian told terrible jokes that made Bria giggle. Tamara filled out paperwork while keeping one hand on her daughter's leg, needing the physical contact to believe this was real. When visiting hours ended, Julian walked Tamara to his car. I'll take you home to get some rest, he said. Then tomorrow we'll start fresh. I'll arrange for movers to start packing your apartment whenever you're ready. I work tomorrow afternoon. Not anymore. Take the week off. Be with Bria. Your job will be there after the surgery. Tamara wanted to argue about that too, but she was too exhausted. Too overwhelmed. Too grateful. She simply nodded and got in the car. As they drove through the quiet city streets, she watched the man beside her. Julian Prescott. Billionaire tech CEO. And the answer to a desperate mother's prayer. Can I ask you something? She said quietly. Anything. Your mother. What happened to her? Julian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Brain cancer. I was 18. We didn't have insurance. By the time we could afford treatment, it was too late. He swallowed hard. She died 3 weeks after my high school graduation. I built my first company with the money from selling everything we owned. Told myself I'd never be helpless like that again. I'm sorry. Me too. He glanced at her. But maybe that's why I found you tonight. Maybe she's up there somewhere, making sure I do better than I did for her. Tamara reached over and squeezed his hand. She'd be proud of you. They didn't speak again until he pulled up outside her apartment building. It was in a rough neighborhood, the kind where streetlights flickered and people didn't make eye contact. Julian frowned. You're really moving out of here. I know it's not much. I'm not judging. I grew up in a place just like this. I'm just glad you'll be somewhere safer soon. He waited until she was inside before driving away. Tamara climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her tiny 1-bedroom apartment and collapsed on the couch. She was too tired to make it to the bed. For the first time in months, she fell asleep without crying. Because hope had returned. Because miracles were real. Because Julian Prescott had opened his door at exactly the right moment. Wednesday morning arrived with bright sunshine, as if the universe was celebrating the turn in Tamara's luck. She woke early, packed a bag of essentials, and took the bus to the hospital. When she walked into Bria's room, she found Julian already there, sitting in the chair beside the bed, reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar, in different funny voices. Bria was laughing, actually laughing for the first time in weeks. The sound made Tamara's heart squeeze. Mommy? Bria waved. Julian does the butterfly voice so silly. I can hear that, Tamara said, smiling. She met Julian's eyes over her daughter's head, mouthing, "Thank you." He just winked and continued reading. Dr. Torres came by at 9 to discuss the surgery. He was a short man with kind eyes and confident hands, the kind of doctor you instinctively trusted. He explained the procedure in terms they could all understand, showed them diagrams, and answered every one of Tamara's anxious questions. "Bria's case is serious but very treatable," he assured them. "The surgery will take about 6 hours. We'll repair the valve and ensure proper blood flow. Recovery will be about 6 weeks of careful monitoring, but kids her age bounce back remarkably fast." "And after that?" Tamara asked. "After that, she'll be able to run and play like any other child. No restrictions. A completely normal life." Tamara closed her eyes and breathed. A normal life. It seemed impossible after so many months of watching Bria struggle to walk across a room. "When can we do the surgery?" Julian asked. "I've scheduled it for next Tuesday at 7 a.m. Dr. Torres patted Bria's hand. "You're going to do great, sweetheart. I promise." After the doctor left, a hospital social worker came to discuss discharge plans. She looked confused when she checked her notes. "It says here all bills have been paid in full and you have housing arranged?" "That's right," Julian confirmed. The social worker smiled with obvious relief. "That's wonderful. We'll have Bria ready for discharge on Thursday, assuming her pre-surgery tests come back clear. You'll need to return Monday for final prep." Over the next few days, Julian became a constant presence. He brought Bria new books, stuffed animals, and art supplies. He sat with Tamara during her breaks, bringing her actual meals instead of vending machine snacks. He asked questions about her life, her work, her dreams before everything fell apart. "I wanted to be a nurse practitioner," Tamara admitted one afternoon as they sat in the hospital cafeteria. "I was taking online classes before Bria got sick. But I had to drop out to work more hours." "You could go back," Julian said. "After Bria's better. The tuition is too expensive." "What if it wasn't?" He stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "What if I covered that too?" "Julian, you've already done so much." "I'm serious. You're smart, dedicated, and you clearly love helping people. You should finish your degree." Tamara felt tears prick her eyes again. She seemed to cry at everything now, but they were good tears. Grateful tears. "Why are you being so kind to us?" Julian was quiet for a long moment. "I think I've been lonely for a really long time. Building my company, making money, proving I could rise above where I came from. But I forgot to build a life. Then I found you on my doorstep, and suddenly I had a reason to leave the office before midnight. A reason to care about something other than profit margins." He looked at her directly. "You and Bria are giving me purpose again. So thank you for letting me help. It's helping me too." Tamara reached across the table and took his hand. "Then we're helping each other. Deal." Thursday came and Bria was discharged with a clean bill of health for now. Julian had arranged for a medical transport van to take them to his property. When they pulled up to the guest house, Tamara gasped. It was beautiful. A charming cottage-style home with blue shutters, a little front porch, and a garden full of flowers. Inside, everything was clean and bright with comfortable furniture, a modern kitchen, and bedrooms that looked like they belonged in a magazine. Bria ran through the space squealing. "Mommy, look. I have my own room. And it's huge." Indeed, the smaller bedroom had been set up with a child in mind. There was a bed with a purple comforter, Bria's favorite color, shelves full of books, and a window seat overlooking the garden. "Julian," Tamara breathed, turning to him. "This is too much." "It's exactly enough," he countered. "Come on, I'll show you the rest." The master bedroom was equally lovely, with soft green walls and a bathroom that actually had a bathtub. Tamara couldn't remember the last time she had taken a real bath. The kitchen was stocked with groceries. The living room had a television and a fireplace. "I took the liberty of having some of your things moved from your apartment," Julian said. "Your clothes, Bria's toys, personal items. Everything else can be dealt with later." "You thought of everything." "I tried." He looked almost shy. "I want you both to be comfortable here. This is your home now for as long as you need it." That evening, after Bria was asleep in her new bed, Tamara and Julian sat on the front porch with cups of tea. The main house was visible through the trees, lit up against the darkening sky. "Tell me about your company," Tamara said. "I don't even know what you do." Julian laughed. "I develop software for medical facilities. Patient management systems, billing platforms, things like that. It started because of my mother, actually. I saw how inefficient hospitals were, how much time was wasted on paperwork instead of patient care. I thought I could fix it." Did you? I'm getting there. We work with about 40% of hospitals in the state now. The goal is to go national next year. That's amazing. You're helping so many people. I try. Though it all feels kind of hollow when you go home to an empty house every night. He gave her a rueful smile. Sorry, that sounds pathetic. It doesn't. It sounds honest. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to crickets sing in the garden. Tamara felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. Not just the absence of panic but actual deep peace. Julian? Yeah. I'm glad I collapsed on your doorstep. He laughed, a real laugh that reached his eyes. That's probably the weirdest thing anyone has ever said to me. But I'm glad too. As the stars came out above them, Tamara allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind them. The surgery was coming, but they would face it together. And after that, a whole new life was waiting. The days before the surgery passed in a gentle rhythm. Tamara settled into the guest house, learning where everything was, making the space truly theirs. Bria seemed to gain energy just from being in a calm, beautiful place. She played in the garden, collected flowers, and drew pictures for Julian that he promised to hang in his office. Julian came by every morning before work and every evening after. At first, Tamara thought he was just checking on them. But soon she realized he was coming because he wanted to. Because their little cottage had become a haven for him too. On Friday evening he showed up with bags of takeout from an Italian restaurant. I thought we could have dinner together. If that's okay. More than okay, Tamara said, welcoming him inside. They ate at the small dining table while Bria told elaborate stories about the butterflies she had seen that afternoon. Julian listened with complete attention, asking questions, encouraging her imagination. Watching them together made something warm bloom in Tamara's chest. After dinner, Bria begged Julian to read her a bedtime story. He agreed without hesitation, following her to the bedroom and settling into the chair beside her bed. Tamara listened from the hallway as his deep voice brought the characters to life, as Bria's giggles slowly gave way to sleepy sighs. Julian? Bria's voice was drowsy. Yes, sweetheart. Will you stay? Even after I'm better? A long pause. I'd like that very much. Me too. You're nice. And you make mommy laugh. Your mommy deserves to laugh. I know. She's the best mommy ever. She really is. When Julian emerged from the room 15 minutes later, Bria was fast asleep. He found Tamara in the kitchen, wiping down counters that were already clean. She's out, he said softly. Thank you for being so good with her. She's really bonded with you. The feeling is mutual. Julian leaned against the doorframe. She asked if I'd stay. After she's better. Tamara's hands stilled. What did you say? That I'd like to. If that's okay with you. She turned to face him. Why wouldn't it be okay? Because I'm a stranger who inserted himself into your life during a crisis. Because once things are stable you might want your space back. Because... He trailed off, looking uncertain for the first time since she'd met him. Because what? Because I'm getting attached. To both of you. And I don't want to overstep. Tamara set down the dishcloth and crossed to him. Julian, you saved my daughter's life. You gave us a home. You've shown more kindness in 1 week than I've experienced in 5 years. You're not overstepping. Your family. His eyes widened. Family? If you want to be. If that doesn't scare you off. Julian pulled her into a hug and Tamara melted into it. He smelled like coffee and something woodsy and his arms felt safe. So safe. It doesn't scare me, he murmured. Nothing has felt this right in a very long time. They stood there for a long moment, both of them needing the connection, the comfort of not being alone. When they finally pulled apart, something had shifted between them. Something deeper than gratitude. Something that felt like the beginning of forever. Saturday, Julian took them to the aquarium. Bria pressed her face against the glass, watching sea turtles glide past. Julian bought her a stuffed octopus from the gift shop that she immediately named Mr. Tentacles. They ate lunch overlooking the bay and talked about everything and nothing. What was your life like? Tamara asked. Before you got rich. Julian watched a seagull hover over the water. Hard. My dad left when I was 5. Mom worked 3 jobs trying to keep us fed. We moved a lot, always one step ahead of eviction notices. I wore second-hand clothes and learned to code at the library because we couldn't afford a computer. You built all this from that? I got lucky. Right place, right time, right idea. And I worked like crazy. He smiled. But I never forgot where I came from. That's why I can't stand seeing people struggle when I have the means to help. You're a good man, Julian Prescott. I'm trying to be. That night, after Bria was in bed, they sat on the porch again. It was becoming their ritual, these quiet evening conversations under the stars. "Are you scared?" Julian asked. "About the surgery?" "Terrified," Tamara admitted. "I know Dr. Torres is the best and the procedure is routine for him. But she's my baby. My entire world. The thought of them cutting into her heart. I'll be there. The whole time. You don't have to. I want to." He took her hand. "You're not alone in this anymore, Tamara. Whatever happens, we face it together." She squeezed his fingers. "I'm starting to depend on you. That scares me too." "Why?" "Because good things don't usually last. Not in my life. And if you left, I'm not leaving." His voice was firm. "I promise you that. I'm here for the long haul." Sunday they stayed close to home. Julian taught Bria how to play chess on the front porch while Tamara read a book nearby. She kept glancing up, watching Julian patiently explain strategy to her daughter, his face animated and kind. When had she started seeing him as more than a benefactor? When had his presence become something she craved? It was too soon to have these feelings. Too complicated. But her heart didn't seem to care about logic. That evening, Julian grilled burgers on the porch. They ate while the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Bria fell asleep on Tamara's lap, exhausted from the busy weekend. "I should get her to bed," Tamara said softly. Julian stood. "Let me." He carefully lifted Bria from Tamara's lap and carried her to her room. Tamara followed, watching as he tucked the blankets around her daughter, smoothed the braids from her face, and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Sleep well, little one," he whispered. "Big week ahead." Back on the porch they sat closer than usual. Tamara rested her head on Julian's shoulder without thinking about it. It just felt natural. "Can I tell you something?" she said quietly. "Always. I think I'm falling for you. And that terrifies me because everything is already so intense and complicated and—" Julian turned her face toward him. "I'm falling for you too. And yes, the timing is crazy. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe the best things happen when you stop trying to control everything and just let yourself feel." "Is that what you're doing? Letting yourself feel?" "For the first time in 15 years, yes." He traced her cheekbone with his thumb. "You've changed everything, Tamara. You and Bria. You've made me remember what it's like to care about something more than work. We're a package deal, you know. Me and her. I wouldn't want it any other way." They didn't kiss. It didn't feel like the right time with the surgery looming. But they sat there holding each other, two broken people learning to trust again, learning that maybe miracles came in many forms. Monday arrived too fast. They went to the hospital for Bria's pre-surgery tests. Everything looked good. Dr. Torres gave them a confident smile and reminded them to be at the hospital by 5:30 the next morning. That night, Tamara barely slept. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, praying, hoping, trying not to think about all the things that could go wrong. Around 2 a.m. she gave up and went to the kitchen for water. Julian was sitting on the porch steps. He looked up when she opened the door. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. "Not really." She sat beside him. "What if something goes wrong?" "It won't." "But what if it does?" Julian pulled her close. "Then we deal with it together. But Tamara, Dr. Torres is the best. Bria is strong. She's going to come through this perfectly. Promise?" "I can't promise that. But I can promise I'll be right there with you no matter what." They sat together until the sky began to lighten, drawing strength from each other. When it was time to wake Bria, they were ready. Scared but ready. The hospital was cold at 5:30 in the morning. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Tamara and Julian walked through the pediatric surgery wing, Bria between them holding both their hands. She was wearing a tiny hospital gown decorated with cartoon bears, trying to be brave even though her eyes were wide with fear. "Will it hurt?" she asked for the third time. "You'll be asleep the whole time," Tamara said, keeping her voice steady. "You won't feel anything. And when you wake up, Mommy will be right there." "And Julian?" "And Julian," he confirmed, squeezing her small hand. The pre-op nurse, a cheerful woman named Rita, led them to a curtained area. She helped Bria onto the gurney and started checking vitals. Dr. Torres appeared a few minutes later, already in his scrubs. "Good morning, Miss Bria," he said warmly. "Are you ready to get that heart fixed?" Bria nodded, though her chin trembled. "Will I be able to run after?" "Mommy says I can run." "You'll run so fast I won't be able to catch you," Dr. Torres promised. He turned to Tamara and Julian. "We'll take good care of her. The surgery should take about 6 hours. Someone will update you every hour or so." 6 hours, Tamara repeated faintly. The anesthesiologist came next, a gentle woman who explained what would happen. Bria would breathe in some medicine that would make her sleepy. Then they would start the surgery. When it was over, she'd wake up in recovery. Can I bring Mr. Tentacles? Bria held up her stuffed octopus. Absolutely. He can keep you company until you fall asleep. Too soon it was time. Tamara kissed Bria's forehead, her cheeks, her hands. I love you so much, baby. You're the bravest girl in the world. Love you, Mommy. Julian leaned down and hugged her carefully. See you in a little bit, sweetheart. Okay, Julian. They watched as the gurney rolled away down the corridor. Bria waved until she disappeared through the double doors. Then Tamara's knees buckled. Julian caught her, holding her up. I've got you. Come on, let's find the waiting room. The waiting room was painted in cheerful yellows and blues, with toys in one corner and magazines scattered on tables. It was empty this early. Julian led Tamara to a couch and pulled her down beside him. She's going to be fine, he said. Tamara nodded, but tears were already streaming down her face. I know she is. But she's so little and they're cutting into her heart, and what if? Don't go there. Stay right here with me in this moment. Bria is in the best hands possible. They sat together as the minutes crawled by. Julian kept his arm around Tamara's shoulders. She leaned into him, needing his strength. Other families trickled in, but they barely noticed. At 7:15, a surgical nurse came out. Jenkins' family? They both jumped up. Yes. Dr. Torres wanted me to let you know they've started. Everything is going smoothly so far. I'll be back with another update in about an hour. Thank you, Tamara whispered. More waiting. Julian got them coffee from the cafeteria, though neither could drink it. Tamara stared at the clock, watching the hands move with agonizing slowness. Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios no matter how hard she tried to stop it. Have you ever watched someone you love fight for their life? How would you handle 6 hours of not knowing? Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe to see how this story unfolds. At 8:30, another update. Everything is progressing well. They're about halfway through. At 10, the same nurse appeared again. Still doing great. Dr. Torres says another 2 hours, maybe a bit less. Julian held Tamara's hand through it all. When she needed to cry, he let her. When she needed to pace, he paced with her. When she needed silence, he sat quietly by her side. Thank you, she said around 11. For being here. Where else would I be? I don't know. Running your company? Living your life. Julian turned her to face him. This is my life. Right here. You and Bria. Nothing else matters as much. Tamara saw the truth in his eyes. This wasn't obligation or pity. This was genuine care. Maybe even love, though it seemed too soon to name it that. I don't deserve you, she whispered. You deserve everything good in the world. Both of you do. At 12:15, Dr. Torres himself came through the waiting room doors. Tamara's heart stopped. Julian stood, pulling her up with him. She's perfect, Dr. Torres said, smiling. The surgery went exactly as planned. We repaired the valve and her heart is pumping beautifully. She's in recovery now. Tamara's legs gave out again. This time she sank to the floor, sobbing with relief. Julian crouched beside her, his own eyes wet. Can we see her? He asked. In about 30 minutes, once she's more alert. She did amazing. Truly. After the doctor left, Tamara clung to Julian. She's okay. Oh my God, she's okay. I told you. She's a fighter. We need to celebrate. We need to. I don't know, but we need to do something. Julian laughed through his tears. First, let's see our girl. Then we'll figure out how to celebrate. When they were finally allowed into recovery, Bria was awake but groggy. Tubes and wires connected her to various machines, but her eyes opened when they approached. Mommy? I'm here, baby. You did so good. So good. It's over? It's over. Your heart is all fixed now. Bria's gaze found Julian. You stayed. Of course I stayed. I promised, didn't I? A small smile. Yeah. They spent the next few hours in recovery as Bria drifted in and out of sleep. The nurses monitored her closely, but everyone agreed she was doing remarkably well. By evening, she was transferred to a regular room where she'd stay for the next few days. Tamara refused to leave her side. Julian brought her dinner from the cafeteria, made sure she ate, and sat with her as night fell. Bria slept peacefully, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. You can go home, Tamara said quietly. Get some rest. I'm staying. Julian. I'm staying, he repeated firmly. We're in this together, remember? So he stayed. He pulled a chair up next to Tamara's and they kept watch together through the night. Somewhere around midnight, with Bria sleeping and machines beeping softly, Julian took Tamara's hand. I need to tell you something. What? I love you. Tamara's breath caught. Julian? I know it's fast. I know everything is intense right now. But I've never been more sure of anything. I love you, Tamara. I love the way you fight for your daughter. I love your strength and your kindness. I love the way you make me want to be better. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you too. I didn't want to say it first because I thought it was crazy, but I do. I love you so much. He leaned forward and kissed her, gentle and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling through their tears. When Bria's better, I want to see where this goes, Julian said. For real. No more pretending it's just about helping you. I want to build something with you. I want that too. They kissed again and Tamara felt something settle in her chest. Hope, joy. The certainty that miracles didn't just happen once. They kept happening when you opened your heart to them. Bria recovered faster than anyone expected. By Friday, just 3 days after surgery, she was sitting up in bed coloring pictures and demanding more ice cream. The doctors were thrilled with her progress. Dr. Torres told them they could go home by Monday if everything continued this well. Home, Bria said happily. To the pretty house with the flowers. That's right, baby. Back to the guest house. Is Julian coming too? Tamara exchanged a glance with Julian, who was sitting in his usual chair beside the bed. Julian lives in the main house, remember? But he's very close by. He should live with us, Bria said matter-of-factly. Then we could be a real family. Out of the mouths of children. Tamara felt her cheeks heat. Julian just smiled. Maybe someday, he said gently. For now, let's focus on getting you all the way better. True to Dr. Torres's word, they were discharged Monday afternoon. Julian had arranged for a medical transport again, though Bria insisted she could walk. They compromised on a wheelchair ride to the car. The guest house looked even more welcoming than Tamara remembered. Julian had arranged for fresh flowers in every room and stocked the refrigerator with all of Bria's favorite foods. There was a banner in the living room. Welcome home, Bria. You did this? Tamara asked, touched. I wanted it to be special. She's been through so much. That evening, after Bria was settled in her bed with strict instructions to rest, Julian and Tamara sat on the porch. It had become their place, this quiet spot where they could talk without reservation. I need to go back to work tomorrow, Julian said reluctantly. Just for a few hours. But I'll check in constantly. You don't have to check in. We'll be fine. I want to. He took her hand. I'm not good at this, you know? The relationship thing. I haven't dated anyone seriously in years. Work always came first. And now you come first. You and Bria. I want to do this right, Tamara. I want to take you on actual dates. I want to meet your friends. I want to build something real. I'd like that. Though I should warn you, I don't have many friends. Work and Bria pretty much consumed my life. Then we'll make new friends together. Or we'll just enjoy being together. Whatever works. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a comfortable routine. Julian went to the office in the mornings and came home by 3 to spend time with them. He helped Bria with her physical therapy exercises, turning them into games. He cooked dinner most nights, revealing a hidden talent for Italian food. He took them on small adventures as Bria grew stronger. They visited the botanical gardens, where Bria gasped at the butterfly exhibit. They went to a children's museum where she tried on costumes and built towers of blocks. They had picnics in the park, feeding ducks and flying kites. Tamara watched Julian with her daughter and fell deeper in love every day. He was patient and kind, never treating Bria like she was fragile. He encouraged her to try new things, to push her limits safely, to discover all the things she could now do with her healed heart. One Saturday, 6 weeks after the surgery, they went to the beach. Bria ran straight for the water, squealing as waves lapped at her toes. Tamara and Julian walked behind her, hand in hand, watching her play. Look at her, Tamara said softly. She's so strong now. So happy. You both are. It shows. That's because of you. Julian stopped and turned her toward him. It's because of all of us. You never gave up fighting for her. She never stopped believing she'd get better. And I just showed up at the right time. No, you did more than that. You saved us in every way a person can be saved. He kissed her, right there on the beach with the sun shining down and Bria laughing in the distance. It was perfect. Everything was perfect. That night, after Bria was asleep, Julian asked Tamara to come to the main house. He'd made dinner, he said. Something special. The main house was beautiful inside. Modern but warm, with high ceilings and windows that overlooked the property. He'd set the dining room table with candles and flowers. When did you do all this? Tamara asked, amazed. While you were putting Bria to bed. I'm sneaky. They ate pasta and drank wine and talked about everything. Tamara told him about her childhood in Georgia, her dreams of becoming a nurse practitioner, her fears and hopes for Bria's future. Julian shared more about building his company, the long nights of code and coffee, the moment he realized he'd actually succeeded. I thought success would feel different, he admitted. I thought it would fill this emptiness inside me. But it didn't. Money can't buy connection. It can't buy love. No. But love finds you anyway if you're open to it. Are you saying you love me? He teased. I thought I already told you that. Tell me again. Tamara stood and walked to where he sat. She cupped his face in her hands. I love you, Julian Prescott. I love your kindness and your generosity. I love how you treat my daughter like she's your own. I love that you never asked for anything in return for all you've done. You're the best man I've ever known. Julian pulled her into his lap. I love you too. More than I thought possible. You've changed my whole life. They kissed, deeper this time, full of promise and desire. But they didn't rush. There was no need. They had time now. All the time in the world. As Tamara walked back to the guest house later, she looked up at the stars and smiled. She thought about the night she'd collapsed on Julian's doorstep, desperate and broken. She thought about how far they'd come since then. Miracles were real. Love was real. And sometimes, when you prayed hard enough, the universe sent exactly what you needed right when you needed it most. 3 months after Bria's surgery, life had settled into a beautiful rhythm. Bria was thriving, running and playing with limitless energy. Tamara had enrolled back in her nurse practitioner program, attending classes online while Bria was at school. Julian had cut his work hours in half to spend more time with them. They were happy. Genuinely, completely happy. Which is why none of them were prepared for the knock on the guest house door that Tuesday afternoon. Tamara opened it to find a man she hadn't seen in 5 years. Trevor Johnson. Bria's father. He looked older, harder, with bloodshot eyes and a wrinkled suit. Hello, Tamara. Her blood ran cold. What are you doing here? I came to see my daughter. Your daughter? You walked out when she was a baby. You haven't sent a single dollar, made a single phone call. You have no right to call her your daughter. Trevor's jaw tightened. I heard she was sick. I wanted to come but what? You were too busy? Too selfish. I made mistakes. I'm here now. I want to make it right. Tamara laughed bitterly. Make it right? Do you have any idea what the last 6 years have been like? The struggle, the bills, watching my baby suffer while you were God knows where doing God knows what. I know I messed up, but I've changed. I'm clean now. I have a job. And I heard you're living with some rich guy. I want to make sure Bria's okay. She's more than okay. She's thriving. No thanks to you. Trevor's expression hardened. I want to see her. No. I have rights. You signed away your rights when you walked out. I have full custody. We'll see about that. I talked to a lawyer. Since you're living with a man who's not her father, and you're taking his money, maybe the courts will think I'm the more stable parent. Tamara felt panic rise in her chest. You're threatening me? I'm saying I want to be in my daughter's life. And if you won't let me, I'll go to court. He turned and walked away, leaving Tamara shaking in the doorway. She watched his car drive off, her mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when everything was finally good. She called Julian immediately. I need you to come home. Now. He heard the panic in her voice and didn't ask questions. On my way. 15 minutes later, he pulled up to find Tamara pacing the living room. She told him everything, the words tumbling out in a rush. Julian's face grew darker with each sentence. He's threatening to take Bria? He says he has rights. That I'm an unfit mother because I'm taking help from you. That's insane. You're the best mother I've ever seen. But what if the court sees it differently? What if they think he's stable now and I don't know, dependent on a man I'm not married to? Julian grabbed his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. Right now. Within an hour, they were sitting in the office of Margaret Foster, one of the best family lawyers in the state. She listened to the whole story, taking careful notes. First, let's be clear, Margaret said. Trevor Johnson abandoned his child for 5 years. That doesn't look good for him, no matter what arguments he makes. Second, you're not unfit just because you accepted help. Many single parents receive assistance from family, friends, or partners. But we're not married, Tamara said. He'll use that against me. It's not the 1950s. Courts care about the child's well-being, not outdated moral judgments. Margaret looked at Julian. How long have you two been together? Officially about 3 months. But I've been helping them for 4 months total. And your relationship with Bria? I love her like she's my own daughter. I'd do anything for her. Margaret nodded. Good. That helps. Now, Trevor will likely file for custody or visitation rights. We'll oppose it based on his abandonment. But Tamara, you should prepare for this to go to court. Tamara felt sick. What are my chances? Very good. But we need to build a strong case. I'll need documentation of Trevor's absence, records of you supporting Bria alone, evidence of her current stable home environment. I have all of that, Tamara said. I kept everything. Bills, medical records, school records. Everything. Perfect. And we'll need character witnesses. People who can testify to your parenting and to Bria's happiness in her current situation. Julian leaned forward. I'll testify. So will Dr. Torres, Bria's cardiac surgeon. The nurses at the hospital. Her teachers. Anyone who knows them. That's exactly what we need. Margaret stood. Let me start working on this. In the meantime, do not engage with Trevor. If he contacts you again, document it but don't respond. All communication should go through me. They left the office feeling slightly better but still shaken. Back at the guest house, they found Bria coloring at the kitchen table, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. Hi, Mommy. Hi, Julian. Look what I drew. It was a picture of the three of them holding hands in front of the guest house. Tamara's heart squeezed. It's beautiful, baby. It's a family. Julian knelt beside her chair. That's right. We're a family. And families stick together no matter what. Okay. Bria went back to coloring, humming to herself. That night, after Bria was asleep, Tamara broke down. Julian held her on the couch as she sobbed. I'm so scared. What if I lose her? What if Trevor convinces the judge? You won't lose her. I promise you that. We'll fight this with everything we have. But money can't fix everything. No. But it can hire the best lawyers. It can show the court that Bria has a stable, loving home. It can help us fight. Tamara pulled back to look at him. Why are you doing this? This is my problem, my past coming back. You could walk away. Walk away. Julian looked shocked. Tamara, I love you. I love Bria. This isn't your problem. It's our problem. And we're going to win. Promise? I promise. Trevor Johnson doesn't get to destroy what we've built. He doesn't get to hurt that little girl again. We'll do whatever it takes. Tamara believed him. She had to. Because the alternative was losing Bria, and that simply wasn't an option. Over the next few weeks they prepared. Margaret filed motions opposing Trevor's claim. They gathered documents and witness statements. Dr. Torres wrote a powerful letter about Bria's progress and the stability of her home life. Teachers at Bria's school did the same. But Trevor wasn't backing down. His lawyer filed for joint custody, claiming he deserved a chance to be in his daughter's life. The court date was set for 6 weeks away. Tamara threw herself into preparation while trying to keep everything normal for Bria. She didn't tell her daughter about Trevor yet. Bria was too young to understand, and Tamara wanted to protect her innocence as long as possible. Julian was her rock through it all. He researched family law late into the night. He sat with Tamara through meetings with Margaret. He kept Bria busy and happy when the stress became too much for Tamara to hide. We're going to win, he said over and over. Just keep believing that. Tamara tried. But fear was a constant companion now, whispering what-ifs in the dark. What if the judge sided with Trevor? What if she lost the only thing that mattered? She prayed. Just like she had that night on Julian's doorstep. Except now she wasn't praying for a miracle. She was praying for justice. And for the strength to face whatever came next. The morning of the custody hearing arrived cold and gray. Tamara stood in front of the bathroom mirror, trying to get her hands to stop shaking long enough to button her blue dress. Julian had insisted on buying it for her, something professional but warm that would make a good impression. Julian appeared in the doorway. Ready? No. But I guess it doesn't matter. He crossed to her and finished buttoning the dress. You look perfect, strong. Like the mother Bria needs. What if it's not enough? It will be. Trust me. They dropped Bria off at Julian's assistant's house. The woman, Patricia, had teenage daughters who had been looking forward to playing with Bria all week. Bria didn't understand why she couldn't come with them to Mommy's meeting, but she accepted it with the easy trust of a child. Be good, Tamara said, hugging her tight. Always am, Mommy. The courthouse was an imposing gray building downtown. Margaret met them on the steps, looking sharp in a dark suit. How are you feeling? She asked Tamara. Terrified. Good. Channel that into your testimony. The judge needs to see how much Bria means to you. Inside, they went through security and found the correct courtroom. Trevor was already there with his lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit. Trevor had cleaned up, wearing pressed slacks and a button-down shirt. He looked almost respectable. Tamara's hands clenched into fists. Julian took one and squeezed gently. Don't let him get to you, he whispered. Stay calm. The judge, an older woman named Judith Reeves, called the hearing to order. Both sides presented their opening statements. Trevor's lawyer painted a picture of a reformed man seeking a relationship with his daughter. Margaret countered with the facts of his 5-year absence and Tamara's unwavering dedication. Then came the testimonies. Trevor went first. He claimed he had struggled with addiction but was now clean. He had a steady job as a mechanic. He'd made mistakes but wanted a chance to be a father. I heard my daughter was sick, he said, his voice breaking. And I wasn't there. That haunts me every day. I just want a chance to make it right. To be part of her life. Tamara wanted to scream. Where were these feelings 5 years ago when Bria was a baby? When they were being evicted and she was working 3 jobs. But she stayed silent as instructed. Her turn would come. Trevor's lawyer called a few character witnesses. His boss testified he was a good worker. A sponsor from his addiction support group spoke to his recovery. It was all calculated to paint him as a changed man. Then it was Margaret's turn. She called Dr. Torres first. The surgeon spoke about Bria's surgery, the months of care beforehand, the dedication Tamara had shown. In 20 years of practice, I've never seen a parent more committed to their child's well-being, Dr. Torres said. Ms. Jenkins worked herself to exhaustion to keep Bria in treatment. She never missed an appointment. She was there for every procedure, every setback, every small victory. That kind of love and dedication can't be faked. And the father? Judge Reeves asked. Did you ever see him during this time? Never. Not once in all the months Bria was under my care. Next came Bria's teacher, who spoke about how well-adjusted and happy Bria was at school. Then a social worker who had evaluated their home. Then nurses from the hospital who had watched Tamara sleep in waiting room chairs and skip meals to pay for parking. Each testimony built a picture of a mother who had given everything for her daughter. And a father who had given nothing. Finally, Margaret called Julian to the stand. He swore in and sat down, looking calm and confident. Mr. Prescott, how did you meet Ms. Jenkins and her daughter? I found Tamara collapsed outside my home. She was exhausted, malnourished, and desperate because she couldn't afford her daughter's medical treatment. I brought her inside and learned about the situation. And what did you do? I paid for all of Bria's medical care, including a heart surgery. I provided housing for them both. And I fell in love with them. A murmur went through the courtroom. Trevor's face darkened. Why did you help them? Margaret asked. Julian's voice was steady. Because my mother died of cancer when I was 18. We couldn't afford treatment. I watched her suffer and die because we were poor and helpless. When I found Tamara in the same situation, I knew I could help. So I did. And your relationship with Bria? I love her like she's my own daughter. I've been there for her surgery, her recovery, her first day back at school. I read to her every night. I help with homework. I take her to the park. His voice grew more passionate. Bria is one of the most important people in my life. I would do anything to protect her and her mother. Including testify here today? Including anything. Margaret smiled. No further questions. Trevor's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Mr. Prescott, isn't it true you've only known Ms. Jenkins for about 4 months? Yes. And you've already moved them into your property? Provided substantial financial support? Yes. Don't you think that's a bit fast? Some might say inappropriate. Julian's eyes hardened. I think helping a child in need is never inappropriate. And if Trevor Johnson had been doing his job as a father, none of this would have been necessary. Objection, Trevor's lawyer said. Sustained, Judge Reeves replied. But she looked thoughtful. Finally, it was Tamara's turn. She walked to the stand on shaking legs and swore to tell the truth. Margaret started with easy questions, establishing the timeline of Trevor's abandonment, the years of struggle, Bria's illness. Ms. Jenkins, why didn't you seek child support from Mr. Johnson? I tried. He disappeared. Changed his phone number. I had no way to contact him. Eventually, I gave up and focused on surviving. And when Mr. Prescott offered to help, why did you accept? Tamara looked directly at the judge. Because my daughter was dying. Because I had worked myself to exhaustion and it still wasn't enough. Because Julian offered genuine help with no strings attached, and refusing would have meant watching Bria die out of stubborn pride. Do you regret accepting his help? Never. Not for a second. Julian saved my daughter's life. He gave us hope when we had none. He showed us what family is supposed to look like. Margaret nodded. Thank you. No further questions. Trevor's lawyer stood looking determined. Miss Jenkins, isn't it true you're financially dependent on Mr. Prescott? I'm in school to become a nurse practitioner. Julian is helping me through that so I can better provide for Bria in the future. But currently you're dependent. I'm accepting support, yes. Just like any parent might accept help from a partner or family member. But you and Mr. Prescott aren't married, are you? No. Don't you think Bria deserves a stable two-parent home with her actual father? Tamara's voice turned to ice. Bria deserves parents who love her and show up for her. Trevor Johnson has proven he's neither of those things. Julian has proven he's both. The lawyer tried a few more questions, but Tamara held firm. She wasn't going to let Trevor's money or his lawyer's tricks take her daughter away. After closing statements, Judge Reeves called for a recess to consider the evidence. Tamara, Julian, and Margaret went to a conference room to wait. An hour passed. Then another. How long does it usually take? Tamara asked. Every case is different, Margaret said. Try not to read too much into the timing. Easier said than done. Tamara paced the small room while Julian sat with his head in his hands. They were both exhausted. This was supposed to be the end, but it felt like they were standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to see which way they'd fall. Finally, they were called back. Judge Reeves looked at both parties, her expression unreadable. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony, she began. This is a difficult case because it involves a father seeking to reconnect with his child. However, the facts are clear. Tamara's heart pounded so hard she thought she might pass out. Mr. Johnson, you voluntarily abandoned your daughter for 5 years. During that time, Ms. Jenkins provided for her alone, through extreme hardship. She was present for every important moment of Bria's life, including a life-threatening illness. You were not. Trevor's face fell. His lawyer put a hand on his arm. While I appreciate that you claim to have changed, actions speak louder than words. Your sudden interest in custody only appeared after you learned Ms. Jenkins had financial support. This suggests your motives may not be entirely about Bria's welfare. Judge Reeves looked at Tamara. Ms. Jenkins has demonstrated exceptional dedication to her daughter. The support she's receiving from Mr. Prescott shows a stable home environment with people who genuinely care about Bria's well-being. She picked up her gavel. Therefore, I'm ruling in favor of Ms. Jenkins. Full custody is maintained. Mr. Johnson, you may petition for supervised visitation in 1 year if you can demonstrate consistent stability and genuine interest in your daughter's welfare. Until then, you have no custody or visitation rights. The gavel came down. It was over. Tamara collapsed into Julian's arms, sobbing with relief. They'd won. Bria was safe. Trevor stood abruptly and stormed out, his lawyer following. Tamara didn't care. Let him be angry. He'd lost and he deserved to lose. Thank you, she said to Margaret, her voice muffled by Julian's shoulder. Thank you so much. You did this, Margaret replied. You were an excellent witness. The judge saw the truth. They left the courthouse into afternoon sunshine. It felt symbolic somehow, walking from darkness into light. Julian held Tamara's hand tight. It's over, he said. We won. We did. She turned to him, tears still streaming. I love you. Thank you for standing with me. Always. That's what family does. They went to pick up Bria, who ran to them with her usual enthusiasm, oblivious to the battle that had been fought for her. Tamara held her daughter tight, breathing in the sweet smell of her hair, thanking God for the victory. That night, after Bria was asleep, Julian and Tamara sat on their porch. The stars were out, bright and clear. I was so scared, Tamara admitted. I thought I might lose her. But you didn't. You fought and you won. We won, she corrected. I couldn't have done it without you. Julian pulled her close. Good thing you'll never have to do anything without me again. Is that a promise? It's a vow. They sat in comfortable silence, both of them processing the day. The threat was gone. Trevor wouldn't be coming back. They were safe. They were together. And the future, once so uncertain and frightening, now stretched out before them full of possibility. The week after the hearing passed in a blur of relief and celebration. Margaret's office sent the official court order granting Tamara full custody. Trevor had 30 days to appeal, but his lawyer had already informed them he wouldn't. He'd lost and he knew it. Bria remained blissfully unaware of the whole situation. She continued going to school, playing with friends, and growing stronger every day. Tamara watched her daughter run across the playground and felt her heart might burst with gratitude. On Saturday, Julian suggested they all go out to dinner to celebrate. He made reservations at a nice restaurant overlooking the bay. Bria wore her favorite purple dress. Tamara wore the blue one from the hearing. Julian wore slacks and a button-down shirt that made his eyes look even darker. They looked like a family. They felt like a family. Dinner was perfect. Bria charmed the waiter into bringing her extra rolls. They shared dessert and laughed at each other's stories. Watching Julian interact with her daughter, Tamara felt a wave of love so strong it almost frightened her. This man had changed everything. Not just with his money, though that had been crucial, but with his presence, his patience, his genuine care. He'd taken two broken people and helped them become whole again. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront. Bria ran ahead, chasing seagulls. Julian took Tamara's hand. "There's something I need to tell you," he said. Tamara's stomach flipped. "That sounds serious." "It is, but good serious." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I've been thinking about this for a while now. About us. About what we've built together. Okay. When I found you on my doorstep, I thought I was just helping someone in need. But you've given me so much more than I've given you. You've given me purpose, joy, a family." Tamara's eyes started to water. "Julian, let me finish." He smiled nervously. "I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a few months. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Tamara's breath caught. "I love you, Tamara Jenkins. I love Bria like she's my own daughter. I want to spend the rest of my life making you both happy. I want to be the father Bria deserves and the partner you can count on through anything." He opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring that caught the light from the setting sun. "Will you marry me?" Tears poured down Tamara's face. She couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. All she could do was nod over and over, while Julian laughed and slipped the ring onto her finger. "Yes?" he asked, wanting to hear it. "Yes," she finally managed. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He swept her into his arms and kissed her. In the distance, Bria had stopped chasing birds and was watching them with wide eyes. "Did Julian just kiss Mommy?" she called out. They broke apart, both laughing. Julian waved her over. "Come here, sweetheart. We have something to tell you." Bria ran back, bouncing with curiosity. "What? What is it?" Julian knelt down to her level. "I asked your mom to marry me, and she said yes." Bria's eyes went huge. "Really? You're going to be my daddy? If that's okay with you." Bria threw herself at him, nearly knocking him over. "Yes. Yes, it's okay. It's perfect." Julian caught her, laughing, and stood up with Bria in his arms. Tamara wrapped her arms around both of them, and they stood there on the waterfront as a family, complete and whole and happy. That night, after Bria was asleep, Tamara and Julian talked about the future. They decided on a small wedding in 3 months. Just close friends, Dr. Torres, Margaret, and a few others. Nothing fancy. Just a celebration of their love. "I want to adopt Bria," Julian said. "Legally. I want to be her father in every way. She'd love that. I'd love that. And I've been thinking about your schooling. You're doing great with the online classes, but have you considered going full-time? I can handle all the expenses. You could finish your degree faster." "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. You're brilliant, Tamara. You deserve to achieve your dreams." She kissed him softly. "How did I get so lucky?" "We're both lucky. We found each other exactly when we needed to." The next few months flew by. Tamara finished her semester with top grades. Bria continued to thrive, growing taller and stronger. Julian started working from home more, wanting to spend every possible moment with his new family. They planned the wedding together, keeping it simple and meaningful. Margaret agreed to be Tamara's maid of honor. Dr. Torres walked her down the aisle. Bria was the flower girl, scattering petals with dramatic flair. The ceremony took place in the garden behind the main house. The same garden where Bria had played on her first day in the guest house. It was small and intimate, exactly what they wanted. When Julian saw Tamara walking toward him in her simple white dress, he couldn't stop the tears. She was so beautiful inside and out. and she was going to be his wife. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Julian promised to love and protect both Tamara and Bria for the rest of his life. Tamara promised to stand by him through everything, to be his partner and his home. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Bria cheered louder than anyone. Julian kissed his bride while their daughter danced around them, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. At the small reception, Dr. Torres raised his glass. I've watched this family come together under the most difficult circumstances. I've seen them fight for each other, support each other, and love each other through everything. They're proof that miracles happen. That kindness matters. That family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up and staying. Everyone drank to that. Later, as the sun set and Bria fell asleep on a blanket under the stars, Julian and Tamara slow danced to music from a portable speaker. Margaret and the other guests had left. It was just the three of them now. Can you believe this is our life? Tamara whispered. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to make sure it's real. I collapsed on your doorstep 4 months ago, ready to give up. And now look at us. Julian pulled back to look at her face. You never gave up. You prayed for a miracle. And somehow, someway, I was it. You were absolutely it. She touched his face. My miracle. My love. My husband. And you're mine. Always. They kissed under the stars while their daughter slept peacefully nearby. A family built on faith and kindness and love. A family that would last forever. 6 months after the wedding, life had settled into a beautiful new normal. Tamara had graduated early from her nurse practitioner program with honors. She'd been offered a position at Children's Memorial, the same hospital where Bria had her surgery. Working there felt right, like coming full circle. Julian's company had expanded nationwide, but he'd learned to delegate. He worked reasonable hours and was home for dinner every night. His employees had noticed the change in him. He smiled more, laughed more, actually took vacations. Bria was thriving in 2nd grade. She'd made best friends with a girl named Sophie and joined the school's running club. Her teachers raved about her kindness and curiosity. She wore a small necklace that said, Daddy's Girl, which Julian had given her for her 7th birthday. She touched it constantly like a talisman. They'd moved out of the guest house into the main house together. Tamara had been nervous about that transition, worried about losing their cozy space. But Julian had worked with her to make the main house feel like home. They'd painted walls, hung family photos, and filled it with warmth and laughter. The guest house now belonged to a young single mother. Julian was helping through a medical crisis with her son. He'd started a foundation called Second Chances, dedicated to helping families afford medical care. Tamara co-ran it with him, using her nursing background to identify cases and coordinate care. On a Saturday morning in May, they woke to Bria jumping on their bed. Mommy? Daddy. It's adoption day. Julian had officially filed to adopt Bria 3 months earlier. Today was the court hearing to finalize it. Unlike the custody hearing, this one would be a celebration. The judge would ask Bria if she wanted Julian to be her father legally, and then it would be done. They got ready together, all 3 of them giddy with excitement. Bria wore her favorite purple dress and the necklace. Tamara wore yellow. Julian wore a dark suit. They looked like they were going to a party, which, in a way, they were. The courthouse was the same one where they'd fought Trevor for custody. But this time, instead of fear, Tamara felt only joy. They checked in and were led to a different courtroom, smaller and warmer. Judge Reeves was presiding again. When she saw them, she smiled. The Jenkins Prescott family. I'm so glad to see you all again under much happier circumstances. The proceeding was quick and informal. Judge Reeves asked Bria if she understood what adoption meant. Bria nodded seriously. It means Julian will be my real daddy forever and ever. That's right. And is that what you want? More than anything. Bria looked at Julian, her eyes shining. He's already my daddy in my heart. I just want it to be official. Judge Reeves looked at Julian. Mr. Prescott, do you understand the responsibilities and privileges of adopting this child? I do, Your Honor. And I promise to love her, protect her, and guide her for the rest of my life. She's already my daughter in every way that matters. I'm just grateful to make it legal. And Ms. Jenkins Prescott, you consent to this adoption? Absolutely. Julian is the best father Bria could ask for. Judge Reeves signed the papers with a flourish. Then, by the power vested in me by the state, I grant this adoption. Julian Prescott, you are now legally the father of Bria Jenkins Prescott. Congratulations to all of you. Bria squealed and launched herself at Julian. He caught her, spinning her around while she laughed. Tamara joined them and they stood there in the courtroom hugging and crying happy tears. "We did it," Julian whispered. "We're a real family now." "We've always been a real family," Tamara said. "This just makes it official." They went out for ice cream after Bria's request. She got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles and talked nonstop about how she couldn't wait to tell Sophie that Julian was officially her daddy now. That evening they had a small party at home with their closest friends. Dr. Torres came, bringing a gift for Bria, a stethoscope of her own. "Every doctor's daughter needs one," he said, winking. Margaret brought flowers and a card. Patricia, Julian's assistant, brought homemade cookies. Even some of Bria's school friends came with their parents, the guest list growing naturally from their expanding community. As the party wound down and guests left, Julian found Tamara standing at the window overlooking the garden. He wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About the night I collapsed on your doorstep. I was so desperate, so scared. I thought that was the end of everything. It was the beginning. I know that now. But in that moment I felt completely alone. And then you opened your door." Julian turned her to face him. "I was alone too in my own way. I had everything money could buy and nothing that mattered. Then I found you and suddenly my whole life made sense. We saved each other. We did." They watched through the window as Bria played with Sophie in the garden, their laughter drifting through the open door. The same garden where they'd gotten married. The same house that had once been just a building and was now a home. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found me?" Tamara asked. "I try not to. Because I can't imagine my life without you both now." "Me neither." Julian kissed her temple. "Thank you for collapsing on my doorstep." Tamara laughed. "Thank you for opening your door. Always. I'll always open my door for you." Later that night, after Bria was tucked into bed clutching her new stethoscope, Tamara and Julian sat on their porch. Their porch now in their house with their daughter sleeping upstairs. "I've been thinking," Julian said, "about expanding the foundation. There are so many people like you were, struggling and desperate. We could help more of them. I'd love that. We could hire case managers, work with more hospitals, create a real support network. We could call it Bria's Hope Foundation. Named after the little girl who brought us together." Tamara's eyes filled with tears. She'd love that. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Tamara thought about prayers and miracles. About how sometimes the worst moments of your life can lead to the best. About how kindness from a stranger can change everything. She thought about the broken woman she'd been, collapsed on a doorstep in the rain. And the strong, happy woman she was now, surrounded by love and hope and possibility. "I love you," she said to Julian. "I love you too. Both of you. Forever." "Forever," Tamara agreed. Inside, Bria slept peacefully, her heart strong and healthy. Her family was whole. Her future was bright. And somewhere in the universe, a desperate prayer had been answered by a man who chose kindness over convenience, love over loneliness, and family over solitude. Miracles were real. Love conquered all. And sometimes, when you least expected it, everything changed for the better. All because someone opened their door at exactly the right moment.